So my name is Meret, and you can find my blog right here. If you want to have a look at it, please do so. And I might have to give you a quick disclaimer before I take you through my project, because I'm very bad at finding points or restricting myself when I write. So I cut all of my text in half, more or less. Disclaimer, it's still going to be too long. But if you want to read the rest of my text, please do so. You're very welcome. It's all on the blog. So then let me introduce you to NEXUS. Showman, producer, consumer. A parasite host. This is truly the brave new world we are trying to regulate. So who is the parasite here? He's a showman, a producer, and a consumer. The parasite is an exciter. The parasite relates. Their user, their final purchaser, can use them only by utilizing them in the process of production. The parasite seeks rarity. The parasite does not stop. The parasite invents something new. Truth cannot then be an absolute value. It's not a question of winning or losing anymore, since the parasite always wins.
Host, parasite, relationship.
Second-hand living. I have been a parasite all my life. I am not the only one. The parasite borrows. In other words, the parasite lives second-hand. The city is my host. It becomes unclear which came first, the form or the distortion, the host or the parasite. To remove the parasite would be to kill the host. Woe to the man who desires to be a parasite. They are definite social characters assigned to individuals by the process of social production. Feasting. I'm fascinated by the city, just as a hungry guest is fascinated by the buffet of a feast. A banquet is laid for him, food he demands. The care and feeding of users, we refer to this as the feeding rituals. The city, the buffet, and the bodies, the dealers, There is a busy swarm of companies feasting together with the parched grass beneath them. Let the wild beasts make banquet on it. How much space is there at their table? Could I myself the bloody banquet join? Trading is a twofold matter. Give or take, former and latter, why those forbid the feeding of the flames? If I had been livelier, a buffet perchance, I could have worked more willfully to bring you anger. And remember that after the banquet, you're going to have to make a speech. Of course, we'll have a royal feast, where one can combine shrimp with cheesecake if they please. He shall feed them and be to them a shepherd. And it is the parasite noise of the parasite that eats. What shall we give him to eat? You would have had a flourishing commerce to feed it. The very same vice assumes a new body. Of course, I rarely give him orders. Of course. Embodied connections in flux. Reading the body alone is not enough. It relies on the connections between the commodity, the consumer body, and space. The body is packaged for consumption in various ways. It is consumer and producer simultaneously, dependent, host and parasite, same. Consumerism accommodates and encourages differences. Ordinary consumption, it intertwines and it links. So then let me introduce you to NEXUS. Also something that you can go through on my blog if you want. For time reasons, I will have to cut this one short. A garden is not what I am looking for. This is not a garden then. Consider it a meeting. If anything, it is your stage, so make something of it. I let you do what you need to do. Is performance anxiety your thing? It's a beer on the friends, a pseudosomatic small talk between enemies. It's an orgasm between exes and a jealous stare between siblings. A bitch slap in the club. It's dirty talk whispered in your ear. It's a compliment from your mother. It's the powder burning in your nose, the billboard signs promising your fulfillment, an important sentence from your mentor. It's a heated dispute between actors. It's a tango between strangers. It's the silver plate on which the parasitized bodies are presented anew. It is the fog through which you transgress, the screen through which you perceive. Everything seems to be out of place, but nothing is misplaced. So take a stroll. Look into their faces until you start constructing spaces of your own. It's not that what it's all about. Don't tell me you have high expectations. And if you don't get it, you're simply not part of it yet. Calls for the obliterative composition of exchange. He has entered before realizing that he just did so. He finds himself surrounded by bodies which he knows but never has seen before, and that is the thrill of it. It has a face through which you can guess the faces it contains. Not translucent, but playful with light. You don't see to the end of it because there is none. The site was bedecked for a feast. The exchange, it is a marketplace. The project turns the usual trade flow upside down. We trade at fair prices. Everybody brought something for sale. A couple of nice conversations, that way real give and take. Each body a parasite host, each body the parasite to their host, thus it implies a constant exchange of information and traits. To form relations, the bodies move along a line and are at every point of that moment right. Exploring boundaries, forgetting their realms, to embody the experience of the plenty, to consume it. In the end, it is like the bouquet of the finish of a pyrotechnic display, rockets fired simultaneously for the thrill of it. An negentropic buffet. A buzzing and rustling is to be heard, feasting noise. The closer you get, the more noticeable it becomes. It's bloody and raw, but I swear it is sweet. As Jack enters the space, he opens the black box, Pandora's box with all its gifts. Delicate offers piled high, a blur of activity. Parasites sit on the buffet, huge and humming, preying on the willingness of their respective hosts, praying to relate. The parasited one parasites the parasites, back and forth, up and down, right round, baby, right round. They are able to choose from the best of the world, but they borrow liberally from a global buffet of possessions and practices. Host is subject, object, friend, and enemy. Eat and be eaten. The willingness to interact makes the experience full. The parasites feed on it. Let's concentrate on feasting then, until boundaries blur and only connections remain. There is no system without parasites. Quite simply, what is essential is neither the image nor the deep meaning, neither the representation nor its hall of mirrored reflections, but the system of relations. So I'll let you meet the bodies in that case. An openly hidden kiosk. A kaleidoscope of goods on display, so Jack walks through it. The body of trade has a luring glimpse in its eyes as it turns towards him. I propose a trade. It says, what have you got? Anything you dream of if the offer is right. You've got me there. What shall it be? Some pills, a pet, a bubble gum, or are you more into the tea room type beat? Tea room trades, impersonal sex in public spaces. So then your body is your personal marketplace too? Everybody is a whore to someone. In fact, it's probably more yours than anyone else's theirs. I am just a mere businessman too. Unspoken understanding, pastel mood lighting to smooth the transition while signs display estimated waiting times. This is the trade entering into the body. Their patrons are devoted followers drawn to the trade's unique blend of mystery and familiarity, hooked on the thrill of the trade, the fulfillment that consumption brings. A stripped pharmacy. On Sunday, the substitute was stripped to the core. Here is a strange pharmacy, empty but not abandoned. And even looking empty, the body is actually in full swing. Weeds and grasses lift the paving stones, drugs, prostitution, and graffiti move in. Like the search course of an unstoppable anguish only sets in as the drugs dry up. Where is everyone? Jack wonders. Well, currently they're hitting on the body of wealth. They need money to buy the drug. In a world of sex, drugs, and rock and roll, the subject always remains bound, at least potentially, to convulsive novelty. It's a beautiful world that we live in, and that is one of consumption. Somebody told me there's a growing problem with drugs because everyday life is so fucking boring, Jack says. Is there a solution for it? The body asks, no. Well, then it's not a problem. The problem needs the possibility of a solution. If there's no solution, there is no problem. There is only observation. I am not sure if it works like this. It sure works for me. Jack sees his reflection in one of the windows. Seriously, either that man is a complete genius or I have to stop taking drugs immediately. Or maybe even both. Consumption of it, of here and there, of you and me and the space in between. Jack once more looks at the value in his palm and throws back the cocktail all at once. If you don't live, you also die. A deliciously tasteless corner. It sits there in its rigidness, bland, dangerously ill, silent, yet it seems to nod in agreement. It's not one to break the rules. It enjoys the general protection of the world. You are not exactly beautiful, but there's something intriguing about your lack of flamboyance. In a world where everyone strives to stand out, you dare to remain unassuming. Must they be taught to always be pleasing? Or is this more of an instinctive thing? So who then says what's right or wrong? It's essential to maintain a certain level of authority and control. It's a power play then. The parasite gives the host means to be safe from the parasite. This is why there is no safe dose of carcinogen, because where will be the fun in that? A little discomfort can be a catalyst for greatness. Comfort is just not the easy way out. In a world filled with noise and excess, it is the younger sibling running to mommy to diffuse tension. I detest that, so tasteless. For he prefers autonomy to security. It's an easy game you play. Jack sums it up. It just sits there in its rigidness, silently nodding in agreement. A freshly preserved booth. Slowly and most imperceptibly, Jack is unseized by fresh air. The body radiates serenity. Its light wearing is calming. It contains what is not actively wanted, but cannot be let go of. I find their flavor is fresh and their state excellent. How do we determine what to remember and what to forget? He wonders. This is the act of selective remembrance and intentional forgetting, the body answers. It seems all just a bit too forced, Jack sighs. With time, the city grows upon itself. It acquires a consciousness and memory. You have some property? Jack asks. Any truth I maintain is my own property, the body answers. So you cling on to this then, your own truth? The pitfalls of excessive attachment to the past are obsession with preserving every detail. Without nostalgia, the most living act of memory, but when we are nostalgic, we take pictures. So when you forget, do you let go or store it somewhere because you can't? Behind an endless desire of nostalgic satisfaction, there resides a void without any substance. Jack shrugs. Why bother when you can put a lid on it? So long until you feel the need to wallow in it again, then come back and open all those little boxes. Is this not the freedom that forgetting brings? And until then, stay cool, darling. Don't panic. A vibrant pedestal. At the bottom, there is a large pedestal with steps attached. And on this pedestal, there stands absolute excellence. The showman gives a debut unlike anything seen before. The body is in a flow of movement, culture unbound. Accessible to everyone, untouchable to any who try. Ma, you have given me everything and you have put me on a pedestal, the body cries out. Jack still stands firmly. He's just part of the crowd's body, for now he is just one of many. The many become pedestal to the few. It's unclear whether it is more about imitating or about opposing. If the confusion between the anchored and the self-determined, for now, what else is cultural display but a desperate attempt to squeeze the traditional into a contemporary framework? Look what I'm doing, Daddy. Daddy, look. You proud? Look. The culture is in terminal decline, and if culture, then plaisir too. So dance, body, move, transgress. Spectators spectate, body fascinate. Thank you all for coming. We love to entertain you. I wish you well. It sits there in its serene ambience, made of gleaming white, almost as if it wanted to convince you of its well-intentioned nature. Throw your deepest wishes into it and it will spit hope right back at you. It's a temporary suitor. Come closer, my friend, the well whispers. You were born to consume earth's fruits. I wish there was more of it around. The rest will come when they spread that wealth around. This is quite a sight, and it for sure knows. We know that we often consume for projective or compensatory reasons. We are more audacious, consume more, we simply have a really good time. Jack thinks out loud, and what should be wrong with that? See, I wonder whether man's happiness consists in wealth. Wealth adds to happiness, so therefore happiness must consist in wealth. Jack looks at the value in his palm once more. Now toss me your precious and come sit next to me for a moment. Listen to the wishes, watch how they transform. He does as told. This is quite nice. A brief thermal. Why does one bathe? He wonders as he slowly walks into the warm, embracing water. The distortion blurs the contours. Are you a ritual or are you a necessity, he asks. The answer would be both. Ritual is the psychogeography of personality and community. In it for a ride down, Jack thinks to himself as he walks further into the water. Bath, an absolute classic. To wash ourselves clean, to accumulate the dirt in the tub and stare at it in fascination. The meaning of the ritual clearly depends on the meaning of the body. The framing converts to the scene. Maybe it's the shared sweating that connects, the mutual languishing. In that sense, one can directly compare the bath and the brothel. Let's put up baths next to the academies and employ bath attendants along with professors. Or perhaps it's the memory of the warm and suspended environment of the womb, the harbinger of a sudden awakening that we crave. There was a bath at the beginning, there was a bath at the end. When you hold your head on the water, so what can you hear? Jack takes a deep breath and dives up. The ritual renewal, 72. A prenatal chamber. The space is more womb or bladder than bedroom. A nostalgic and sentimental, if not shameful, projection of the extreme to return to the natal home. A waiting room to existence, if you will. How do you pass your time? You could give birth to it. The observing organism, after coming to the external world from the womb, once again enters the inside to create. The problem with creation is where to start. The ever-present origin, it reminds of the process of giving birth to a semi-living viridor. Everything that is born is formed in the darkness and is only later brought into the light. Consider your thoughts the womb of your actions then. Its alternate fertility is for everybody. So tell me, why does a child die in a mother's womb? Maybe of boredom, Jack thinks as he pops one of the bubbles around him. He's never been the patient kind. Boredom is the origin of creation, so sit with it. Are you never tired of creating? Jack wonders. I know you would like to know that. I am a recovering addict, and sometimes I relapse. So for now, don't tell me you had high expectations. And if you don't get it, you're simply not part of it. Yet. And that's that.